Hi, I'm Chris. I work for Living Social, assuming DHH hasn't fired me yet. You might remember me from such other lightning talks as the one I gave a few minutes ago. You all have heard of technical debt. I'm here to talk to you about technical intimidation. Do you know Rails? Do you know Sinatra? Do you know how to host a Rails engine in Sinatra? Can you program concurrently? Can you asynchronously stream hypermedia? I made that up. I don't know what that image means. Actually, I got all these images back, and Klavnik's up there, so maybe I didn't make it up. Do you know the difference between XSS, CSS, SCSS? Can you inject SQL into a cannoli? Can you find closure with your monads? Again, Google image. I don't know why, but I swear, 2 Charlie Browns if you do that. Does anyone understand what this is in JavaScript? Do you actually know that they're putting JavaScript on servers now? Which reminds me, I have a Kickstarter for hosting Oracle in my browser, so if you've got any loose change, let me know. Does anybody know what Adam Keyes is talking about? Did you know if you take out all the buzzwords from this, what you get is ASCII art of a troll face? All these phrases I took from recent Ruby and JavaScript weekly news editions. Does anyone here know all of this? If you said yes to yourself, you're lying, because I made that one up. Seriously, someone very prominent in our industry recently put this on their blog. He said, I was reluctant to ask a question because I wanted to be seen as savvy and on the ball. Now, I can totally relate to that. And if you can relate to that, well, Kent Beck can relate to that as well. And it's even not necessarily that. Sometimes it's just me and technology, and we're up late at night. Don't get the wrong idea. And I'm just staring at it, and I'm just thinking, I don't know what's going to go on. And frankly, it's going to leave me with this big feeling of shame. Now, there are 2 traits common to people. One is adaptability. The other is shame. And when you combine these 2, you get hoarders. Now, it's one thing when you leave that out in the open like that. But for a lot of us, we live that way, like on our hard drives. Thank you, Glenn. Or in our minds and our hearts. And so shame is this thing that can drive us to this place. We're very adaptable, so we can figure out a way to live there, and then shame sticks around to make sure we don't leave. And the result of this is we get a lot of these messages that'll go in and out of our brains all through the day. Maybe not that last one. Jerry Weinberg was once asked, what do you consider the most important thing for a programmer to do when beginning a new project? He says, I think each should be sure they are in good physical condition, whatever, without nagging psychological problems. Well, these shame messages are certainly nagging psychological problems. And if we can adapt ourselves into bad situations, we can adapt ourselves out of bad situations. So let's deal with this. Software is hard. Steve McConnell, paraphrasing Dijkstra, says this, computing is the only profession in which a single mind is obliged to span the intellectual distance of 9 orders of magnitude. Eric Sink on his blog once detailed 46 levels of abstraction that his .NET application has to deal with. Raymond Chen, who's a well-known blogger from inside Microsoft, wrote a technical article on why it's a bad idea to delete a critical section, whatever that is, from inside the critical section, but after this long post finishes it with, but maybe there's a flaw in my logic. Good design is fractally hard. The more closely you focus on any given feature, the more rough edges you find to polish. And the only sane approach is to iterate until you get to a place that you care about and then move on. That's Jan Michalski. I'm murdering your name, but I love your quote. NPR recently had an article about how hard it is for professionals to spot problems they are trained to find. So, if 83% of radiologists cannot see the gorilla in this image, if Kasparov can blunder away his queen in a game where he can see the entire board, but I can only see 0.02% of my code base at one single time, cut me some slack. But what about all the things? Look, you're not going to be able to learn all the things. And the good news is it doesn't matter, at least not to people like Martin Fowler. Given someone with broad design skills and someone who only knows a platform really well, which one would you prefer? Well, Martin will take the one with broad design skills. But what about everybody else who really does know all the things, or at least seems to know all the things? Well, the trick is don't be intimidated by these people. Learn from them. Pat Metheny's advice to young musicians is this: always be the worst in every band you're in. If you're the best guy there, you need to be in a different band. And we'll close with this quote from Dijkstra: "We shall do a much better programming job, provided that we approach the task with a full appreciation of its tremendous difficulty, provided that we stick to modest and elegant programming languages, Ruby, provided that we respect the intrinsic limitations of the human mind and approach the task as very humble programmers." One last thing, Brené Brown has some wonderful, wonderful talks on the subject of shame. If you just Google TED and shame, she has some great TED Talks out there. Check them out. Do yourself a favor. That's me on Twitter. Thanks.